In today's video, I would like to talk about price control policies. We first begin with price ceilings. So what does price ceiling mean? The definition of the price ceiling is the government can legally to establish the maximum price for a good or services. And in our textbook, it used the example that assume government imposes a price ceiling on the market for apartments. So regarding for this price ceiling policies, it might have two possible outcomes. The first outcomes would be binding policy. So which means now this price ceiling is effective. It will make the market price equal to price ceiling. And another is this policy actually has no impact on the market outcome, which means the market price will still maybe go back to equilibrium price. Okay, so I will explain those two possible outcomes one by one. Now let's first begin with non-binding policy, non-binding price ceiling. So begin with the first one. Non-binding price ceiling. Then we will still use the demand and supply model help us to analyze. I will put the rent for the apartments on the vertical axis. Okay, so that will be the rent here. And I will also put the quantity of the apartments available in the market on the horizontal axis. As far as we know, the demand curve of the apartments will be downward sloping, and the supply curve should be upward sloping. Okay, they will intersect at one point, and this point is our original market equilibrium price. Okay, so at this equilibrium point, we can have the rent, equilibrium rent will equal to $800. Okay, that will be our equilibrium rent. And then the equilibrium quantity of the apartments in the market will equal to 300. Now we suppose the government will impose a price ceiling, and in price ceiling, we have the price ceiling here imposed by government equal to 1200, okay? Equal to 1200. So based on this 1200, we can draw another price, okay? So assume this one represents for 1200. So we can just draw a horizontal line across this one, okay? So this will be our price ceiling, okay? So this is the price ceiling. As the price ceiling is the maximum rent that the apartment owners can charge, right? Therefore, all the price above this price ceiling, they are illegal. Because price ceiling will be the maximum rent the apartment owner can charge. And all the prices below this price ceiling, they are legal. Okay, so the question here is, what is the market outcome based on this price ceiling? So this is my question. Where is the market outcome? What is the market outcome based on this price ceiling? Then we probably need to analyze what will happen to our market if the government imposed this price ceiling. So here I would like to mark 2 points on the quantity of the apartments. So if the market price or the rent now imposed by government equal to 1200, then the price or the rent is higher. So the demand for the rent, the demand for the rent, the demand for the apartments will equal to 200. However, the rent increase, so there is more people would like to put their apartments in the market, right? So there probably maybe 500 apartments will be available, right? So first, based on this price ceiling, it will create a surplus. I'll just write it down here. It will create a surplus. So we will first have a surplus in the market. And the surplus here will equal to 500 minus 200 equal to 300 apartments. So as we mentioned that now the market facing surplus, right? So the apartment owners, they can lower the rent to reduce the surplus, right? To reduce the surplus. So what happens in the markets? We have the surplus would decrease, and then we also have the rent would decrease, right? And then when the markets can be stable, so the markets at these circumstances, the markets actually will reach the equilibrium. The markets will reach the equilibrium even under this price control. Okay? Therefore, we have the conclusion here. We have the conclusion. This is a non-binding policy. This is the non-binding policy in price ceiling. Because we have the price ceiling larger than our equilibrium price. Okay, so look at the whole case here. If there is no price control, we notice the market equilibrium will be at this point, right? So without any government price control, the market's equilibrium rent will equal to $800, and then the available quantity of the apartments will equal to 300 units. Even government now impose a price control here. We notice at the beginning it might create a surplus. However, this surplus is not stable. In order to lower the surplus, the apartment owners can lower their rents, and then it will reduce the surplus as the rent decrease. Therefore, even with this price control, we can notice the markets can reach the equilibrium, maybe through some time. We would like to say this price ceiling is not a binding policy because it has no impact on the market outcome finally. And what's the binding price ceiling? So let's look at another example, okay? We still have the quantity of the apartments on the horizontal axis and then the rent on the vertical axis, okay? Demand curve still downward sloping, supply curve still upward sloping. They will intersect at one point, and this is our original equilibrium points. We assume this is our original equilibrium rent at 800, and then we have 300 available apartments. Then we have the government to impose the price ceiling, and the price ceiling here were given by this price, okay? So facing these circumstances, government impose a price ceiling. And the price ceiling here will equal to 500 units per $500 per month, okay? So let's see how to draw this $500 on this graph. So we can have this one probably will equal to $500. Then we need to draw a horizontal line, okay? We draw this horizontal line. Price ceiling is the maximum rent that the apartment owner can charge based on government's regulation. Therefore, all the rents above $500, they are illegal. And all the rents below this 500, they are legal, okay? So we now have this price ceiling. And what will happen if government impose this $500 as the maximum rent that the owners can charge? So the question here is still the same question. What's the market outcome? What's the market outcome? What's the market outcome based on this price ceiling? What's the market outcome based on this price ceiling? So we will notice at this part, first we can mark 2 points on the horizontal axis. When the rent is $500, there is fewer rents will be available in the markets. Probably only 200 apartments will be available. However, the rent is lower. Households or the other consumers, they would like to rent more house. So the quantity demand will equal to 500 if the rent just equal to $500. So the first, it will create a shortage, right? A shortage in the market will equal to 500 minus 200 equal to 300 units, okay? So those 300 apartments will be in a shortage. But when there is a shortage, it's illegal for the apartment owner to increase the price. No, it's illegal, okay? Therefore, in this case, this is the maximum rent. 500 will be the maximum rent can be charged for the apartment. Therefore, it is illegal to increase the rent above $500. Therefore, we notice here the shortage would exist. And then we have the third analyze here will be market cannot go to equilibrium or cannot reach the equilibrium. So we have the conclusion here. This type of the policy is effective because for the people who can rent those apartments, they are benefited from this policy, okay? So we can write down a conclusion here. This is a binding policy. This is the binding price ceiling. Because at this part, market outcome changes. Market's price of the rent will equal to the price ceiling, although it will result in shortage. And then we have shortage exist. Okay, So this is how to distinguish what type of the policy for the price ceiling will be binding and which one could be non-binding. Okay, so in this case, still go back to this case, we can notice for the binding price ceiling, we have the price ceiling here smaller than our equilibrium price. Okay, so those are the contents. I hope you can understand how to distinguish non-binding price ceiling and binding price ceiling. Thank you.